Hey, what's going on everyone? So 8's back with his lost chapter, and he brings along his LD, giving him even more strength and flexibility in his counters. So if you're interested in what this perceptive fighter does, what he offers to a team, and what I think of him, stick around and find out. 8 is at first glance a fairly basic damage unit, but his true strength revolves around his short duration but very effective 100% dodge buff against all types of attacks and his ability to counterattack. His skill 1 is Quick Bolt Stance, which first increases his bravery based on his attack and then does a 2-hit HP attack. It grants 8 one of his unique buffs, Quick Bolt, which raises his max bravery, attack, and speed. With Quick Bolt active, he gets enhanced basic attacks, with his brave attack becoming 8 hits and his HP attack gaining 2 brave hits. His skill 2 is Last Stand Rush, a 5-hit HP attack. It grants 8 Last Stand, but a fighter's version of Last Stand, not a tank's version, as it raises 8's attack and max bravery, but also increases both the bravery and HP damage he takes. With both Last Stand and Quick Bolt active, his HP attack is further enhanced to Light Speed Jab, which first raises 8's bravery based on his attack, then does a 2-hit HP attack. If breaking or attacking broken, it also applies a potent defense debuff onto the target. If breaking or attacking broken with his Brave Plus, Light Speed Jab is enhanced to a plus form for 1 use, which has instant turn rate, doesn't affect turn count, and extends his buffs by 1 turn, turning it into a quote-unquote free attack. His EX is Phantom Rush, which at base first raises 8's bravery based on attack before a 4-hit HP attack. It grants 8 Phantom Rush, which gives 100% evasion against any move except those that bypass evasion. It also has 8 counter with Break Sight Blow after evading an attack, a 6-hit HP attack against that enemy which ignores defense. Looking at his realization, it, like him, doesn't look like a lot, but you should remember that it's up every 2 or 3 turns, and it also upgrades Break Sight Blow. Realization improves the potency and the overflow, which is nice as this attack can actually hit pretty high numbers. 1 ingot is a stat boost, and more attack is fine since it helps out 8's self battery and countering. 2 ingots gives 8 starting Quick Bolt and Phantom Rush, which is handy. 3 ingots adds 2 hits to both Phantom Rush and Break Sight Blow, as well as improving the potency and overflow of both. His LD is Explosive Fist, an 8-hit group attack that deals split HP damage and has 30% brave refund. It locks enemies, giving 8 an assured way of triggering counters. It's great. Onto 8, it applies Defense, which gives him a tank's version of Last Stand active above 50% HP, as well as a second counter in Counter Rush. Counter Rush is an 8-hit HP attack that deals 50% splash damage, and unlike Break Sight Blow, this counter is triggered as long as there is an attack targeted at 8, whether or not the attack actually hits. Defense also gives 8 20% brave return from all HP attacks except Explosive Fist and from HP attacking in launch. The LD passive raises 8's attack as well as further improving his basic attacks and Light Speed Jab. The HP 2+ and Light Speed Jab 2+ both get a 3rd brave hit, and the Brave 2+ doesn't actually seem to get anything different. Thinking about it, 8 is kinda similar to Bosch, at least if you're not thinking about their movesets. Both were good characters with a unique niche in their category before their LDs, and their LDs basically go harder with that niche and let them be excellent with it. This could be considered a bit of an apt comparison too, since now 8 can lock with his LD. Because of that, it's not necessarily wrong to think of LD8 as an unorthodox tank, specializing in controlling single target damage. Team building around 8 isn't that hard. The main consideration is don't pair him with a true tank because then you may be fighting for lock uptime. I wouldn't necessarily consider him a primary damage unit, but more a very good secondary damage unit. As while his enhanced HP attacks are solid, it's his counters where he really shines. 8 has yet to be rerun outside of pandemic scheduling, so when he does return, he'll be due for an LD extension and possibly a rework. For a rework, honestly, I don't know. 8's on-turn damage isn't exactly complex, but it doesn't need to be. His draw are his counters. Maybe adding Brave and HP damage up to his Last Stand buff, which helps out all his damage options, but that's kinda it. For an LD extension, again, I don't really expect much. Another HP hit after like the first 2 or 3 Brave hits would be nice, some more potency would be expected, with possibly extra duration on lock the main thing that may be a little much. Looking at units to compare 8 to, let's look at the other dodge counter characters, Cater and Galoof. Cater has a 1-turn lock, a much longer lasting evasion buff, and a self-enchant and imperil, which lets her enable herself for fights that would otherwise lock her out. However, her evasion is sadly not 100% and her counter is only okay. She does lean more offensively, but her damage output isn't actually that great, especially if she can't get off her counters often. Galoof, meanwhile, is a single target cover tank and only has assured dodge and counters against melee attacks, but boy is it fun to just invalidate a fight that's primarily single target physical damage. He does get a second counter that will counter any move like 8's counter rush as part of his LD, but between them both, 8 still leans more offensively as part of his playstyle compared to Galoof, who is more protective. If we expand the counter aspect of 8 to other characters, we also have the likes of Emperor and Trey, but those are more trap effects rather than a counter to an enemy action. So yeah, that's a purple 8. 8 has always been about his countering, and with his LD, he can properly enable himself to make best use of that ability, along with adding on more. Within a team, 8 readily puts out a lot of damage. The thing is, most of it isn't on his turn. Due to that, I can't easily say he's a first choice damage dealer, but with a proper team comp and against a group of enemies, 8 can definitely put out the damage you need. If you like this breakdown of 8's kit and want to see others like it or other Opera Omni content, stick around and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again.